The Hawks have arrested 3 people believed to be part of a syndicate dealing in illegal coal mining in Mpumalanga. The sting operation started overnight in Emalahleni with the help of Immigration and State Security Agency officials. Let's get you more detail in terms of what more we know about this. Tumaole Mohlaoli is in Mpumalanga for us. And Tumaole, this of course as what the army is also has been deployed to various stations of Eskom around the country. Perhaps let's start with a little bit more detail in terms of what led to the sting operation.
Well, what really led to the sting operation has been basically if one can say, falling apart of Eskom's infrastructure. And this would be specifically speaking towards the issue of the boilers. We've had some reports of the boilers, going offline. This has also contributed and exacerbated the issue of the load shedding. Why are these boilers going offline? It goes down back to the value chain at the most basic level, which is the coal. We are now at a coal site, and I'm going to ask my colleague Maxwell Slotolo just to give you an indication of what we are talking about. You would look at these piles of what seems like coal. Now, I've learned in the last couple of hours that you have different types of quality of coal, which would be either duff, slate, and the duff is basically what you find here, which is a fine type of coal or coal peat. Now, the problem comes in when you look closer, because what happens is that these unscrupulous, if one could call them syndicate operators, mix stone with coal to make up their load. And now this is what causes a problem when it's fed into the boilers and into the grinders that are supposed to then feed into the flames that give electricity, because it breaks down those mechanisms. When those are broken down, that's when you get the issue of the various power stations going offline, and which exacerbates the load shedding that has plunged the country into darkness. This is supposed to be all coal, but as you can see here, this is just a dark stone that goes into the system and causes the problem. Now, as we speak to you right now, officials from the Hawks and other, in law enforcement agencies and other government agencies, including, of course, immigration officials, are now on site, and they are interrogating several suspects as to the owner of this particular coal mine or coal site. Max is giving you some more visuals again of this coal that is fed into the system and becomes problematic because it is then also added along with stones, and these stones just to give it that weight. You can see that as early as last night, we arrived here just after midnight, and officers have been scouring the scene, but you can see here, these are the tracks that are left behind by the trucks that are loaded. So this particular site was loaded as early as last night, and of course officials are now hot on the trail of the alleged owner, who is believed also to be the mastermind of a syndicate that is operating and undermining the system, so to speak. And then here, what you will have, which seems like a heap of coal, is not actually coal. It's actually stone and rock. And this rock has been ground up, and you can see its color is quite dark. So whenever the truck come to load it, it does seem like it is genuine coal. But on closer inspection, you can see, even with the color, it's a rusty kind of a brown, and that suggests that it certainly isn't the peat that is needed to burn to create electricity. So this is the problem, and this is what Eskom officials have been decrying, saying that their system is being sabotaged right from the supply chain side of things, which means you have unscrupulous coal suppliers and coal producers, if one can call them that, and that then to try and add to their loads and to try and add to their supply of Eskom for their bottom line, then start feeding rocks into the system. And this is what has been undermining the system for the longest time. And this is why the Hawks are here, because they want to then cut the head of the serpent, if one can use that particular, description, because they say that once you can get to the bottom of it and get exactly to the heart of it, then you can start to solve this issue of never-ending power cuts or load shedding, so to speak. And this is a conundrum that has seen many Eskom, executives either quit their roles or, resign or be fired because they just couldn't get to the bottom of it. And this is where the problem seems to start, and this is where the Hawks are focusing on. As I can speak to you right now, there are certain players within this particular operation here that are being interrogated by members of the Hawks, including immigration officials from the Department of Home Affairs, because it is believed that there is, some links to foreign nationals that are here without the right documentation, and those are part of the investigations that are ongoing right now. And we will continue to bring you that development as and when it happens. Officials have been in touch with the owner or the manager of this particular operation here, and that particular manager has been giving them differing stories about his whereabouts. At first, he was close by on site, and then he happened to be somewhere out of the province at a family function, a wedding, we are told. But officials are continuing to say that they need to speak to him because of the urgency of what they need to get answers to in terms of what they found here. And that's the way it stands right now. And those officials or those people that are here are certainly being interrogated, and they could be under arrest. We still have to get confirmation from the law enforcement authorities. And if you can see in shot there, this is Maxwell Slotolo giving you shots of those towers, and they are billowing that white smoke, which is a good indication, something that had not been seen consistently over the last couple of years. This would suggest that certainly operations are now getting back on track in terms of Eskom's operations, and this will be good news for South Africans who have been suffering from the load shedding. This does not necessarily mean that the problem has been solved, but with operations like this, it certainly does seem to suggest that the law enforcement authorities are starting to get a grip on what is going on and are trying to turn the tide.
Yeah, hello and welcome to it. If you're just joining us, you've been listening to Tumaole Mohlaoli, my colleague who's out in Emalahleni, where he is, as he just explained. If you're just joining us, this is a site that belongs to a contractor that supplies Eskom with coal. It kind of makes sense now, Tumaole, why when you hear there's going to be load shedding because the coal is wet, it's the kind of conditions that it is kept in, right? So whenever there's load shedding and you hear the coal is wet, now it makes sense to actually see it. But added to that problem is the fact that some of the coal is mixed with random rocks or stones, and that then also impacts the infrastructure of the grid, and it causes a major problem. And so the Hawks conducting a sting operation in Emalahleni. We understand that there's also immigration officials who are there. We'll find out. Tumaole is working the story for us in terms of how to understand this in the context of the military also having been deployed to several power stations around the country. So there you see it, some of the coal that is mixed with the rock, and we've been hearing right from the relevant authorities from Eskom that there is some sort of sabotage, and there you see it coming from their own suppliers. Tumaole Mohlaoli is in Emalahleni for us, and he will continue to work the story to give us more detail in terms of where that particular owner of the site is. They're not able to get hold of him yet, the relevant officials of the Hawks, but no doubt he'll bring us an update in about the next hour. You're with Newzroom Afrika. Good morning.